GOP political strategist, co-founder of MusteringTexas.com. Matt Mackowiak joins us on today's program. Matt, good morning.
Hey, Chad. How you doing?
Doing all right. Hope you had a nice weekend. Thanks for coming on with us today. It's been a busy week, and busy weekend for the 2016 field and Texas politicians as well. Let's start off with the Supreme Court ruling on Friday dealing with gay marriage and take a look at the 2016 Republican candidates. What should they be saying, and how should they react to this issue going forward?
Man, it's a good question, and the thing that I've been trying to figure out is, is there a way to kind of stay true to your conservative beliefs, particularly as social conservatives, but also I think not get into dangerous territory about the supremacy of the judicial branch. Look, I don't think this was the right decision from the Supreme Court. They weren't upholding any federal law. They essentially had state laws that were in conflict with other state laws, which really should have resulted in them leaving it to the states. But that said, look, our system doesn't work if we don't respect Supreme Court rulings. And so, this morning, or I guess yesterday afternoon, the Attorney General of Texas said that county officials could resist issuing marriage licenses if it violated their religious beliefs. I think the media is probably going to really try to tear that kind of opinion apart. But it does raise very interesting legal questions. Just because you work for maybe the county's government, do you surrender all your religious convictions when you do that? So in a way, this ruling creates a lot of other problems. There are going to be employment benefit questions. There's going to be a lot of religious liberty questions. I really think this is a pretty unique issue, and I think that presidential candidates need to respond in whatever way they're most comfortable doing so. And you've seen, Ted Cruz talk about judicial retention elections. You've seen Scott Walker call for a constitutional amendment to leave marriage as an issue for the states. You've seen others like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and John Kasich say this is the law of the land. We're going to have to. We don't agree with it, but we're going to have to live with it.
Yeah, and this is something that I think the debate's going to continue over this ruling, but also exactly how Republicans should cover it. Politico had a story out over the weekend. I'm sure you saw it, dealing with Republicans and the changing culture of America, and can the Republicans catch up to what's going on? Is it a case where Republicans have to catch up with the so-called culture wars? Or is this something where, Republican candidates mainly need to talk about the economy, fiscal issues, and defense? And, if social issues pop up from time to time, be honest about how you feel, but don't focus on those issues necessarily. Yeah,
and, what's interesting about that is I think you've seen a lot of people make the argument that in the short term, these two rulings taken together on Obamacare and same-sex marriage in a way kind of diffuse political bombs that Republicans were going to have to deal with, particularly for the 2016 election. Look, I think nationally, the same-sex marriage issue has been trending away from Republicans. I think that's an undebatable fact, particularly as it relates to younger voters. There's going to be some rewards probably for strong social conservative presidential candidates who play to that base in places like Iowa. Remember, in Iowa, they recalled, I forget if it was 2 or 3 state Supreme Court judges for legalizing gay marriage, for the ruling on gay marriage in that state. So there's short-term rewards, I think, for playing to the base, but nationally, I don't know whether I don't think it's probably a net plus. But the question for me, Chad, that I'm having trouble figuring out, and I think we'll know more in the next few weeks, is does this ruling change public opinion about gay marriage? I think broadly speaking, people respect the Supreme Court, and they believe that the court, kind of calls balls and strikes as best they can. And it generally sort of offers legitimacy to certain views. And I think you might see gay marriage, the popularity of gay marriage, the approval of gay marriage grow in the next few months because of this ruling. And so that raises the question to me, is there a silent majority that's out there that opposes this ruling, that thinks the Supreme Court went too far, and that wants to punish Democrats because of that? I don't know whether that's going to happen, but that's something to watch.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak. We're talking about the 2016 candidates, also the Supreme Court and the rulings that were handed down. You've probably seen the same headlines. You brought up Obamacare, and you've probably seen these headlines. Should the Republicans move on? Should Republicans ditch all efforts, at least congressional action, on Obamacare, focus on other issues? And, maybe if we get hopefully if we get a Republican in the White House, then we can refocus on Obamacare. What do you think the future is for Obamacare and the Republican Party?
I think that the truly unbelievable ruling on Thursday from the Supreme Court really makes it much, much harder to fully repeal Obamacare. Look, we weren't going to repeal Obamacare with Obama in the White House. You need 2/3 of the Senate to override a veto. That's 67 votes. We have 54 Republicans in the U.S. Senate. That was never going to happen. But, of course, if you wanted to use the purse strings to pick a fight with Obama on Obamacare, you could maybe eke out a victory, a very short-term victory, but that was never going to hold either. If the ruling had gone the other way, if the Supreme Court had literally, read the law as it was written, and even as the architect of Obamacare, Jonathan Gruber, admitted that this was not a mistake, that this was intentional. Mm-hmm. But they wanted to punish states that didn't create their own state exchange. They wanted to create a perverse incentive with regard to these state exchanges. He admitted that publicly. And so this idea that this is a mistake, that wasn't really part of the law, and that's why the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to keep it. Look, I think it's very, very bad that the Supreme Court is now divining the intentions of the legislators rather than just reading the text itself. But going forward, no, I don't think this is over. I think you're going to see lots of other efforts to weaken the law or to just reduce some of the pain that the law executes. Look, Chad, the pain from Obamacare is just beginning. The employer mandate hasn't kicked in yet. Premiums are up double digits almost everywhere across the country. This is going to keep getting worse. And so the only chance we have, though, to your point, is we've got to elect a Republican president in 2017. If Hillary or some other Democrat gets elected in 2017, I don't think we'll ever get rid of Obamacare. Visiting
with Matt Mackowiak. Matt, just a few quick thoughts. Christie will be jumping into the race on the Republican side, and so will John Kasich. He'll be jumping in as well. What do they add to this debate?
Yeah, Christie on Tuesday, I guess at his high school in New Jersey, and Kasich in a couple weeks on July 21st, his alma mater, Ohio State. They both offer competition within a sort of establishment lane. I think that's bad news for Jeb Bush. It increases the likelihood that he won't win New Hampshire, and he may go 0-4 in the first 4 early states. I don't think Christie or Kasich will either be the nominee. I've been pretty down on Kasich from the beginning as being someone who sort of has Jeb Bush's weaknesses but not Jeb Bush's strengths. But he obviously comes from a battleground state and has won twice. Christie, I think, is a much more naturally gifted politician. I think he could win New Hampshire, but he's obviously been hurt pretty badly over the past couple of months. So we'll see how they both do, if they're able to get in the debates or not. But to me, it's more competition for Jeb, and that's not a good thing.
Matt Mackowiak, GOP political strategist, also co-founder, MusteringTexas.com. What can people find on your website today?
Yeah, Ted Cruz has his new book out tomorrow. He's been doing a little press around that over the weekend. He got a little bit of attention about a feud he's having, I guess, with Karl Rove. So that's gone back and forth. We've posted those stories. And all the other news, you can find it at MusteringTexas.com.
All right. As always, Matt, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Have a good week. Take care.
You too. It's Matt Mackowiak. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak.